whenever anyone is about to take criminal advantage of a fellow citizen, who is it whose special nut sense goes off like an alarm clock in his head? That's right. Nutman, that insane superhero. The colorful bouncing figure who jumps in the night, pointing and shrieking and shaking his finger. And the exploits of the zany crime buster soon came to the attention of that eminent British criminologist, Sir Anthony Frothingbroth, who immediately dedicated his considerable personal fortune to ensure that Nutman would be well supplied for his crusade against crime and well cared for between seizures.
Why he decided to do this is something we'll be asking him today on this edition of Morning Overload. Sir Anthony.
Yes, yes.
What do you see in Nutman?
Well, we see in Nutman a unique tool. He has apparently developed an intuitive sense of precognition so powerful that it seems to have driven the rest of his senses completely away, poor fellow.
Lately, you've been providing him with some rather unusual crime-fighting materials.
Yes, well, apparently he has decided that sometimes it's not enough to simply jump around in a circle and wave his arms all around like that, you see. Sometimes he decides to take a hand himself. And when he does, I must admit his results are rather good, but his methods are, shall we say, unconventional.
Unconventional? Unconventional? How many thousands of gallons of sliced pineapple in heavy syrup came pouring out of the belly of that transport helicopter at the Super Bowl?
But you must admit that hot dog vendor was trying to position himself directly behind the president's box.
He was nearly drowned. I have never seen anyone so completely engulfed in sliced pineapple, and that's in heavy syrup, too.
Yes, well, his methods may be unusual, but he does get results.
Why can't he just call the cops?
Oh, you know, Dick, he only rarely goes to such extremes. Most of his crime prevention activity is still centered around that old familiar squawk and bounce that we all love so well. And, I might add, most of it takes place without all this media hoopla. Let me tell you something that happened only last week.
All righty, Sir Anthony, go right ahead.
Thank you. One afternoon, Nutman was out in the park, and he came upon two groups of people shouting at each other and making threatening gestures. One group was an odd-looking lot wearing rolls of aluminum foil. The other group were made up of city sanitation workers wearing pigeon control badges. Into the fray leapt the intrepid Nutman. He leapt and shouted and squawked and carried on in his usual chaotic fashion, but then something odd happened. Yes, instead of going away, the foil-clad strangers suddenly began to bow and genuflect. For these, you see, were the Urban Pagans, a little-known religious cult from L.A., and they had taken Nutman to be a relative of one of their bird gods who had come to drive off the pigeon control people. For you see, the pigeon plays an important role in the religion of the Urban Pagans. In fact, the ordinary pigeon, or cliff dove, or rock dove, as it was once called, is the central figure in their cosmology. Consider this, Dick. Before the arrival of skyscrapers, there just weren't many places for a cliff dove to nest. Not around here, anyway. No cliffs. But once humankind had developed the knack for accelerated vertical architecture, hey presto, wherever you look, cliffs all over the place. Why, you can find ideal nesting ledges up any large building in any large city. The cliff dove, or pigeon, or flying rat, as it is now sometimes called, enjoyed this life very much indeed. Ledge after ledge of the choicest possible nesting cliffs, plenty of stale gum and popcorn and other debris to feast on, warm air from the ventilation ducts. Ah, here was heaven indeed. And indeed, that's exactly the belief the urban pagans subscribe to, that when you die, your soul becomes a pigeon and goes to Chicago. Yes, of course, all this was lost on poor Nutman. As usual, he had a very poor grasp of the situation. But to the leader of the urban pagans, the random wavings and gesticulations conveyed a definite message. Yes, that the city workers were also true believers that they, in fact, were the acolytes of paradise whose actions, far from endangering the pigeon host, served to steer their flight, to guide them on to the more perfect nesting areas.
How about that?
Yes, indeed, indeed. And so the urban pagans were well satisfied with Nutman's explanation, and they hitchhiked back to L.A., where they were able to put their energies to more constructive ends, such as issuing citations to people feeding pigeons in the parks. You see, the problem was resolved with a minimum of muss and fuss.
Yes, and not even Nutman knew what was going on.
Oh, no, especially not Nutman. Poor fellow.
Thanks, Sir Anthony, for shedding a little light on the life and times of that 20th century peculiarity known as Nutman, insane superhero. Join me here next time for another GabFest on America's favorite AM viewing habit, Morning Overload. I'm Dick Rickulus. Bye for now.